We're going to be doing just a couple questions for MeVims.com. Hopefully you'll find the information that he's got to say interesting because we are going to be voting on February 2nd of this year. Dan, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
No, not a problem. Now, I have a couple questions for you. Being that we're doing this for the Hispanic community, I was interested in about 4 different things that you have on your issues on your website.
Okay.
One of them being education. Can you give me a little bit of information about your position on that?
Yeah, so education is one of the biggest long-term challenges that we've got to fix, to get right. We have a huge achievement gap in our country right now where we see those who are poorest in our country also get the poorest education, and that doesn't make any sense to me. One thing I want to change to fix that is expand the Head Start program. Head Start is the pre-kindergarten program, and it's the best way we know how to close the achievement gap before it actually starts. Every dollar we put into Head Start, we get $9 out of Head Start for society, and I think that's an investment that we should be making right now. On the other end, we've got to help more people get into college. You know, the unemployment rate across the country has been in double digits for some time, but if you look at the unemployment rate for college grads, it's about half of that. So what we need to do is make college more affordable. The cost of tuition has gone up 5 times faster than median incomes, and so we've got to figure out ways to make it more affordable. One way is shifting more of our resources to Pell Grants. Pell Grants have been cut in previous years so that we can make it easier for folks to get the resources they need. The other way is to change the tax code so that it's easier to use to get tax credits to go to college.
Right, very, very true. Now also I'm aware that you're a businessman, and that's also very important. Nowadays with unemployment being in double digits, like you said, it's very important for businesses to stay in business and being able to expand. Now, can you elaborate a little bit about the economy and how you plan to help businesses grow?
Well, so unemployment in our area has gone up 56%. And you will see in some towns unemployment of 12% or even 16%. So there's a lot that we've got to do. I think one of the keys is small business. Small businesses produce 65% of the new jobs in our economy. But if you talk to small business owners, what they'll tell you is they can't get a loan. They can't get financing. So I went to the banks, and they'll say, well, look, we lost a lot of money in real estate, and we don't have it to lend out. So here the government can come in and help. The government can provide that capital for the small businesses to use to grow and hire new people. This is probably one of the best ways we can, best things we can do to help business grow and start to bring jobs back into our economy.
Right, very, very true. And we also need jobs in our economy. Make sure everybody's growing and prospering. That's also been difficult in this environment, and we can see that in the Hispanic community. A lot of people are losing their homes, and they're losing median income, and they're losing household income as well.
Yeah.
So it is unfortunate. We have to definitely make something to make that go away, or at least alleviate the problems a little bit.
Well, it's been amazing to me, too. You have this term now, a jobless recovery. And I say, well, if there aren't any jobs, where's the recovery? You really have to have jobs. That's what it's about. That's what we need to focus on.
That's true. Now, with that, again, being that this is for the Hispanic community, we come across the immigration issue.
Yes.
Very, very much so. It's something that beats to the hearts of Hispanics. Now, what's your position on that?
So I think that we need comprehensive immigration reform. And before I give you sort of the policy of how I think that would work, one of the things that I've noticed is there's been a tremendous amount of hatred and, frankly, racism that has come into this debate, and it's really poisoned a lot of how folks talk about it. I have people walk up to me and say awful things about immigrants and immigration as a whole. We have to move away from that. That's just not going to work. I think that if we're seeing this problem and making it work more for our country, we need to change our immigration policy, and I think there are a couple of steps with this. Number one, we do need to secure the border. We have people risking their life to come in to our country, and that's not good for them. It's also not good for us. We should be able to manage who is entering in. That's one. Two, we have employers that have been paying people under the table and exploiting them in the process to get out of paying taxes. That's also not good for the worker, and it's not good for those who are in the system and who immigrated legally, because their wages get undermined. So we've got to start enforcing the law with employers. Three, we've talked about the importance of, the Pew Hispanic Center has pointed out that there are 12 million undocumented workers in this country. What do you do about that? A lot of people say, well, let's get them and pull them out of their beds and ship them off. Can't do that. 12 million people, that's about the size of Illinois' population. There is no effective, efficient way to remove 12 million people. So in my view, you have to have an earned pathway to legal status. And so I would set up these conditions. If you can pass a criminal background check, prove that you are financially independent, you're working, pay a fee for entering the country illegally, and then fourth, agree to be here legally and do your paperwork, then that should solve the problem. What we're trying to do is bring these 12 million people out of the shadows where sometimes they're paying taxes, sometimes they're not, oftentimes they're being exploited. We want them to be able to work out in the sunlight so we know exactly what's going on. And if these folks are ready to help bring our country along and help push and make this a better community for us all, then we've got a way that we can move forward.
That's very true. That's very true. You bring about a good point. We've got 12 million people that are undocumented workers in this country that we definitely have to find a path for. But even more so, we have more people that don't have insurance.
Yeah.
And that's another big thing that's been going on in the news lately.
That's right.
How are we going to work through this and make sure that we have comprehensive health reform to be able to get all of these people insurance? Now, that's also something that's an issue that's important to you. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, I tell you, I met a woman in Waukegan who went for 10 years with no health insurance coverage. Now, she had a job. She was working, but her company offered no insurance, as many small businesses do. So she switched jobs, and on her very first visit into the doctor, she was diagnosed with cancer. Now, the good news is she's okay. She had an operation, they were able to get the cancer out of her. But I think about the 47 million Americans who don't have access to health care. And how are they making it or not making it? It's really immoral, if you ask me, for 47 million people to be without it. More than that, it is too expensive, and it's hurting our businesses, which are trying to compete with companies overseas who have their health care covered. So we've got to fix this. The average family of 4 spends $13,000 on health care together with their employer. If we do absolutely nothing, that's going to go up to $25,000 by 2018. So if we do nothing, costs will continue to skyrocket. So we've got to bring this under control. We have to focus on lowering costs, expanding coverage. I'm one of those who supports a public option. And 3, improving quality for healthcare. There's a lot of detail underneath all of those initiatives. I can give you some examples, but we want to stop people from using the emergency room as their primary care provider. We want them to see their doctors earlier, and we want more people to be in the system so that we can spread out that risk and start to bring costs down.
Right, very true.
Yeah.
Now, I have another question for you. You're running for Congress again, but this is something different than you did before.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people are confused about that, including myself, I guess, from the last time that we spoke. So can you mention a little bit about the difference?
So I ran in 2008. In fact, I remember when I first started, I told a guy, I said, like, I'm challenging the incumbent.
Right.
He actually asked me, he said, so who are you running against? I said, well, I'm challenging Mark Kirk. And he said, so you're the sacrificial lamb. Because, the truth is, incumbents from both parties win over 90% of the time. In the last cycle, they won 94% of the time. But I'm the kind of guy that says, well, look, just because it's going to be a tough fight doesn't mean that I should back down. So I stood up and I ran, and I set a record for the number of votes cast for a Democrat in this district. Well, now it's a whole different ballgame. This is an open seat. It's the number 2 race in the country. I'm fortunate to be doing very well based on what the voters are telling me. And it's because of all the work that I've done in the past, getting to understand the issues that face our communities everywhere they go. And I'll tell you, they're asking about health care, they're asking about education, they're asking about jobs. These are the things that I've devoted myself to, and we're getting a tremendous response as I've been able to put forth some specific proposals to help in all of these areas. So I think it's all that work that I put in when other people were afraid to stand up and run, or at least few others would, that's now paying off as I've continued to fight for these issues with voters. Folks know who I am, they know I'm committed to this community, and that I'm going to fight for them.
Definitely get out and vote on February 2nd. Dan Seals, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
We do appreciate it, and we'll look forward to talking to you soon.
And you can actually start voting throughout the month of January. Early voting started January 11th. You can vote all the way through February 2nd. Thanks.
Thank you.